Nuclear proliferation has been an issue in recent times, given new countries that are creating weapons and other weapons that have been in past existence. It all started with Pearl Harbor and the Japanese invasion on December 7th, 1941, which later led to a declaration of war by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt shortly after the attack on Japan, and then later against Germany and Italy. At first, the Allies struggled, but they were later successful in their campaign in Europe and North Africa. Eventually, they defeated Germany in 1945 after Hitler surrendered, shortly after being surrounded. But the Pacific theater was still an issue, as the Allies saw no soon end to the war with Japan. Therefore, FDR thought it was necessary to start the Manhattan Project in 1939, which was a secret project aimed at developing a nuclear weapon. The first self-sustaining nuclear reaction started at the University of Chicago in 1942 with scientists Enrico Fermi and Leo Szilard. It later spread to the Manhattan Project, which employed over 130,000 people and cost over $2 billion, which is about $26 billion with today's market. Many prominent scientists worked on the Manhattan Project, including Albert Einstein, pictured here. Facilities for the project were mostly at the Oak Ridge reactors in Tennessee and the Hanford reactor in Washington State. The project was kept top secret to avoid any outside influences from the Soviet and the American public, to keep it as quiet as possible and to ensure that nobody knew of the bomb's creation. New technology was used for the bomb's creation, such as the Alpha Rocket Racks, which had the first 5 stages of the processing units to ensure that the bomb was created. There was a test site at Trinity Base Camp near Alamogordo Army Airfield in New Mexico. It was kept top secret. A bomb was dropped in 1945, 100 feet in the air. The mushroom cloud was 7.5 miles high, and the energy given off was approximately 20 kilotons of TNT, felt 100 miles away and heard in El Paso, Texas. Truman inherited the bomb after FDR died in 1945, and although many members of his staff did not want him to drop the bomb, he opted to drop the bomb on Japan because of invasion estimates of U.S. casualties. Approximately 75,000 people died in the Hiroshima explosion. About 4.7 square miles were destroyed. The bomb was detonated at 1,750 feet, with energy about 13 kilotons of TNT. The Enola Gay dropped the bomb. He used a plutonium bomb, which had better weapons-grade material for the purpose. A few days later, 35,000 people perished in the Nagasaki bomb. Approximately 44% of the city was destroyed, and the energy that resulted from that bomb was about 21 kilotons of TNT. However, nobody knew of the long-term radiation effects from the bomb. They were much worse than anybody could have expected. In fact, the Japanese weren't really aware of the long-term effects from the bomb, only the short-term destruction. Many of the long-term effects include harmful cancer and other radiation illnesses. Now, many people don't know why Truman decided to drop the bomb, whether it was to defeat Japan or to show Joseph Stalin that he could do this, to kind of flex the U.S.'s muscles. However, Stalin was aware of the bomb, and he was ready to start his own nuclear operations. U.S. estimates said that Russia would be ready to drop a bomb in the late 50s, early 60s. But in 1949, the USSR dropped their first bomb with an energy of about 22 kilotons of TNT. This prompted the U.S. to create the hydrogen bomb, which is 1,000 times more powerful than previously used nukes. It was tested in 1952. This marked the beginning of the nuclear arms race, where both the U.S. and Russia stockpiled nuclear weapons at an unprecedented rate. They both had thousands of nuclear weapons and at any point they could have destroyed the world at a click of a button. This later led to the creation of the mutually assured destruction concept, which said that either country could destroy the world just at the click of a button. In 1954, Nikita Khrushchev took over the USSR after Stalin died. People were unsure of how he would react, since he was so unpredictable. But at one point he was quoted as saying to the U.S., "We will destroy you," and he continued to stockpile nuclear weapons for Russia. In 1961, John F. Kennedy was elected President of the United States. Many people were unsure of how he would do in the Cold War, since he was so young. Nikita Khrushchev didn't take him seriously because he was so young. They didn't get along too well either, and they both continued along the mutually assured destruction concept, both stockpiling weapons at an unprecedented rate, which eventually led to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, where the Soviet Union and Cuba agreed to have nuclear weapons stationed in Cuba pointed at the U.S. Eventually, a U.S. plane was shot down by a Soviet crew, but the crisis ended. However, the U.S. was still fearful of the Soviets due to technological advances, such as the Sputnik pictured there. In 1968, the Non-Proliferation Treaty was signed. It said that no more nukes could be created, and it established 5 countries, the US, China, Russia, France, and the UK, that were recognized with weapons. However, some countries did not sign it because they had their own weapons. In 1981, Ronald Reagan was elected President of the US, and he sought to end the Cold War in Russia. He wanted a nuclear arms race to ruin the Soviet economy, to force them to catch up with the U.S. And that's exactly what he did. He stockpiled weapons, even though in previous years the U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile had been declining. When Bill Clinton was elected, he began to decommission weapons since the Soviet threat was no longer existing. Currently, there are 9 countries that have nuclear capability: the U.S., the UK, France, Israel, Pakistan, India, China, and Russia. France established its nuclear weapons capability in 1960, and they were one of the first countries to be recognized with that capability, as they are part of the NPT Power 5. The UK was the 3rd country to establish nuclear weapons capability in 1952. China later established its nuclear weapons capability in 1964, and eventually they established their own hydrogen bomb in 1968. In 1944, India began creating its own nuclear weapons program and didn't test a weapon until 1974. They have always had heated issues with Pakistan since World War I, and Pakistan later created their own nuclear weapon in 1998 when it was first tested. India and Pakistan have frequently fought over the Kashmir region in northern Pakistan and India. It's currently up for debate as to who has control over that territory. Israel, although we're unsure when their first nuclear weapons was tested, we believe it was around 1960. Iran has proved to be a difficult country in the modern world. They say that they're creating nuclear material for peaceful purposes, but many nations believe that is not true. The U.S. is often caught in between Israel and Iran over this nuclear issue, and people believe that a nuclear war could erupt in the near future between these two countries. North Korea has proved to be the most significant nuclear threat in recent months, as they first developed a nuclear weapon in 2006. Obama currently deals with them, even though their rhetoric from new leader Kim Jong-un, who first came to office in 2011, has been frequently unbearable. He's full of rhetoric, and nobody really knows if he is serious about his threats to nuke the U.S. and surrounding countries. Nobody knows how strong North Korea's nuclear weapons capability is either. But we do know that North Korea, along with Iran, will be the biggest threats to world peace in regards to nuclear weapons in the future. Nuclear weapons are a dangerous threat to the safety and stability of the current world order. Nobody knows how powerful they could be. With all the weapons out there, nobody knows they could fall into the wrong hands.